audience. I'm Dr. Hui-Chung, the chairman of Reed Medical Technology and the CDO of China Biomedical and Technology Applications Association. Welcome to HETV program titled Zeidman-Software Forensic and Safe on IP. Today, we were very honored to have the expert of software forensics, Mr. Zeidman, to share his great success on Facebook case. Software forensics is the science of analyzing software source codes to determine whether intellectual property infringement occurred. Mr. Zeidman has developed the algorithms, technology, and procedures for code suit, which has been used widely in over 100 cases. Mr. Zeidman has been a consultant and a testifying expert on over 250 cases involving billions of dollars of intellectual property. Mr. Zeidman, would you mind telling us how were you hired for the case, the origins, and the arguments about the Facebook case? How did you analyze Facebook's codes and connected use codes to determine whether Mark Zuckerberg has copied codes from connected use to start Facebook? Besides the story behind the scene about the movie The Social Network, which was based on the case. Are you in the movie?
The Facebook case was one of the most interesting of my career. Basically, I had created the code match tool for comparing code and used it on a few relatively small cases. And then one day I got a phone call from a partner at a major Silicon Valley law firm. And he told me that they needed a code comparison and they'd heard about my tool. And could I come work for them? And he gave me the details and I got pretty excited and I said yes, and I hung up. And then I went to my wife and I told her I just got the biggest case of my career. It involves a client who's willing to pay whatever it takes to do a code comparison, spend as much time on it as I need. It's going to be exciting. It's going to validate my forensics tools. It's going to give me great experience and make me a lot of money. Assuming that the client could pay, I was really concerned that maybe the client couldn't pay. So I asked her, have you ever heard of a company called the Facebook? At this time, this was 2004, and Facebook was used mainly on college campuses, and so nobody outside of the colleges had really heard of Facebook. So the case was that Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, had attended Harvard with two twins named Winklevoss, the Winklevoss twins. And the Winklevoss twins had come up with an idea for a social network. And they hired a programmer to start writing the code. And when that programmer graduated, they needed someone to take over. They'd heard about this great programmer, Mark Zuckerberg. So they contacted him and they told him about their idea. And he thought it was a great idea. So he went back to his dorm room and wrote the code himself for the Facebook. As Facebook took off, the Winklevoss twins sued him, saying that he had copied their code. So what happened was the lawyers gathered all the hard disks from throughout the entire company of Facebook. They made images of those disks and they gave them to me and said, find anything that looks like it could be software and compare it to the Winklevoss twins code from their company called ConnectU. Now, when I say they imaged every single hard disk, that was about a dozen hard disks. At the time, Facebook had about a dozen computers, that's all. So I used CodeMatch, which was a very early version of the program, to compare the two sets of code. It probably took about a week, maybe even 2 weeks, running continuously on the computer that I had, because at the time, computers that I ran CodeMatch on were much slower than they are today. And the tool was less sophisticated, less automated than it is today. So it ran for about 2 weeks, and then I took another 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, working 8, 10 to 14 hours a day, reviewing the results of the code match comparison and determining whether any copying had occurred. At the end of that comparison, I wrote up a report, and my report was submitted to the other side as part of a settlement negotiation. So Facebook wanted to settle with ConnectU rather than go to trial. So we submitted my report. Now, ConnectU had hired a number of well-respected code analysts, and they had submitted their own report. And their report said that there were 99,000 files to compare, 99,000 source code files. And of course, it's impossible to compare every combination of 99,000 files. So they put a team of crack experts, software experts, on the case, and they were able to compare 6,000 files. And their conclusion is that they found no signs of copying within those 6,000 files, but they still had 93,000 files to examine, and they were confident that they would find some copying in those 93,000 files. My report said I had been able to compare every single combination of all 99,000 files, and I found not a single indication of copying. Sometime after that, maybe a week or two after that, the case settled. There were still some issues between the companies, but at least the issue of whether the code had been copied was gone. I had shown that there was no copying. So it was a very exciting case, and it was in the news a lot. And friends and colleagues would come up to me and they'd say, do you know about this case? Or do you have an opinion on it? And I would have to say, I don't have an opinion, because the lawyers had asked me not to talk about the case. There were ongoing cases related to it that went on for another 5 years. So for 5 years, I had done this great job and worked on this really interesting case, and I couldn't talk about it. And I found that a lot of what people told me when they were telling me the details, they got wrong, but I couldn't correct them because they would ask me how I knew. So I would just listen and not say anything. Eventually, a movie came out called The Social Network, which I highly recommend. It is a great movie written by one of the greatest screenwriters in Hollywood ever, and one of my favorite screenwriters, Aaron Sorkin. So it's a great movie about the founding of Facebook, and it discussed this exact case that I was working on. In fact, that was the major focus of the movie. And by that time, I had used the proceeds from that case to hire a team of people, so I was expanding my company, and of course expanding the tools that I had developed. So I took my team out to see the movie, and I also saw it with the legal team. The lawyers that I'd worked with on the case, they took the entire team out and invited me to come see the movie. It was fairly accurate. There were details I wasn't aware of, but the lawyers tell me that they were accurate. And again, a great movie. And one thing I like to do is when I talk about the movie at a conference or with friends, I joke that I'm in the movie. I say in the scene where Mark Zuckerberg is sitting there and he's waving a report in his hand and yelling at the Winklevoss twins and saying, I didn't copy your code. I joke around that if you freeze the frame and zoom in on that report, you'll see my name on it.
Thank you for sharing the insights about the Facebook case. And congratulations, it rewarded you on your reputation and sales of your tools. Mr. Zeidman is the president and the founder of Zeidman Consulting that provides engineering consulting to law firms regarding intellectual property dispute. Thank you for sharing the insight of the Facebook case. And congratulations, it rewarded you on your reputation and the sales of your tools. Mr. Zeidman is the president and the founder of Zeidman Consulting that provides engineering consulting to law firms regarding intellectual property disputes. He is also the president and the founder of the Software Analysis and Forensic Engineering Corporation, aka SAFE, which is the leading provider of software IP analysis tools. He is also the author of the book titled The Software IP Detective's Handbooks, Measurement, Comparison, and Infringement Detection. Dear audience, please do come back next Wednesday at 1 p.m. for Zeidman-Software Forensic and Safe on IP on HATV. Do not miss the opportunity to sharpen your skills and enhance your proficiency to career competence. Thank you.